Good morning, students. Today, I'm going to take a topic on antigen antibody reactions. This topic is a very huge topic, and I have discussed in two classes. So, this is the first class, and we will be dealing in this class with the what is antigen antibody reactions, on which properties it has been based on. Then, what are the precipitation reactions and what are the agglutination reactions? The other test we will be discussing in the next class. So starting with the topic. So what is immunology? Immunology is a study of components and functions of immune system. And what is immune system? The immune system is the body's defense mechanism against invading foreign antigen. One of the functions of immune system is distinguishing self from non-self. So what is immune system? It differentiates from the person's self from non-self antigens. Like a foreign particle, like dust and all, they are non-self. And the tissue of our body and cells of our body are self. So that difference which is created in our body is by the immune system. So what are the methods? There are immunochemical methods which are used as a diagnostic tool for zero diagnosis of the infectious diseases. So what is actually antigen antibody? The antigen antibody are reversible binding of antigen to the homologous antibody by formation of a weak bonds between antigenic determinants on antigen molecule and antigen binding sites on immunoglobulin molecules. So the antigen antibody is interaction of the two with the help of weak bonds. Then the antigen molecule binds on the determinant side with the antibody on the antigen binding side. So it's a reversible process. So how kind of interactions are there? The bonds are involved are hydrogen bond, electrostatic interactions, hydrophobic interactions, and van der Waals forces. So coming to the general aspects, what are the general aspects? We have learned first and foremost only that it is a reversible. And second, it is specific. Specific antigen goes and attached with a specific antibody. Entire molecule has to be attached. Then we don't want any activation or inactivation in this. There is no inactivation in it. We want some optimal temperature, pH, electrolyte to be maintained. And only the surface epitope of an antigen is involved. Only the surface. So these are the silent features which are involved. Now some definitions. We have always heard of affinity and avidity. Affinity is nothing but only binding of antigen to the antibody. So a definitive attractive force between the complementary conformations of antigenic determinants and antibody combining site is affinity. And what is avidity? Multiple bindings. When antigen comes, some immunological responses are there and antibodies start being created. Multiple antibodies when bind with the antigen, that is avidity. So it is defined as the strength of binding of several different antibodies produced in response to an immunogen, which presents several different epitopes to the immune system. Now, both antigen and antibodies participate in formation of agglutination and the precipitates. The antigen and antibodies combine in varying proportions. Now, reaction takes place in two methods. We all know one is vivo, that is inside the body, and one is vitro, that is outside the body. So in vitro, that is outside the body, reaction if takes place and it is in the serum, that is called a serological test. That can be for the diagnosis purpose, for the epidemiological survey, for the identification of non-infectious agents like enzymes, for detection and quantitative estimation of either antigen or antibody. And in vivo, it's but obvious antigen-antibody reaction takes place, it creates an immunity. It also creates hypersensitivity in autoimmune diseases, which you will be dealing in later chapters. So what are the stages? There are three kinds of stages: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary is an initial interaction. There is no visible effect in this. It's reversible. There are weak forces for attachment, and it is detected by estimating free and bound antigen or antibody. And second is secondary stage, that has a visible effects like precipitation reaction. We can see the reaction, agglutination, we can see complement fixation test, neutralization of toxins, immobilization of model. All these we can see. So third is the tertiary stage, that if the reactions goes on, it doesn't stop. So that a person it can also cause destructions. It is very injurious. That is the third stage. Okay. Now these include humoral immunity against infection, disease, as well as clinical allergy and other immunological diseases. How we can measure the antigen and the antibody? We measure it in titer. That is the unit. And what is the titer? That is the highest dilution of a serum showing observable reactions with antigen in the test. So when we dilute a serum and add the antigen in it, so when we can see the visible reaction going on, that will be the titer. You will be able to understand this titer later when we talk about tube test. Okay, so there are two parameters in serological test, that is the sensitivity and specificity. Sensitivity to detect minimum antigen or antibody in a test, that is sensitivity. So false negative results are absent in that. In specificity, ability to detect reactions between homologous antigen and antibodies only, no others. So there were, in this case, false positive tests are absent. So accordingly, we have classified antigen antibody reaction on the basis of mechanism. So what are the classification of that? They are precipitation reaction, agglutination reaction, complement fixation test, neutralization, opsonization, radioimmunoassay, immunofluorescence, and enzyme immunoassay. So today we are going to just discuss precipitation reaction. What is that? What are the examples of that? What are the types of that? What are the agglutination reaction? What are the types of that? All we are going to discuss today. So what is a precipitation reaction? When a soluble antigen reacts with its specific antibody in the presence of electrolyte at optimal temperature, pH, the antigen antibody complex forms an insoluble precipitate, and it is called as precipitation. So in this, we have to be very particular. There is a difference between agglutination and precipitation. So we have to see the definition first. Here, precipitation in reaction, it's a soluble antigen. The soluble antigen is important term in precipitation reaction definition. So precipitanogen combines with precipitin, that is the soluble antigen, combines with the antibody and forms an insoluble precipitate, That is the antigen antibody complex. May occur in liquid or gel media. There's one term also, flocculation. Flocculation, floccules is a flock is a Greek word that means stuff of a wool. मतलब गुच्छा, wool का गुच्छा, इस तरह का कुछ floccules होता है. So flocculation, when inside sedimenting the precipitate suspension is there as floccules. The reaction is called flocculation. ऐसे wool के गुच्छे की तरह दिखेगा तो वो अपन flocculation कहते हैं. और वो किस में दिखता है? VDRL टेस्ट के अंदर, RPR में VDRL. Okay. The amount of precipitate formed in generally influenced by the relative proportions of antigen antibody reactions. Now, what are the zone phenomenon? We can come in and see this diagram. In this diagram, we can see there are 3 zones in which for in first zone, antibodies are more and antigen are only few. So there won't be any antigen antibody reaction going on. So for antigen antibody reaction, we need a zone of equivalence. That means antigen and antibody should be of same quantity. So there will be a reaction. Otherwise, if the antigen are more, or if the antigen are more, or if the antibody are more, then also in both the cases, there won't be any reaction. For antibodies more, if there is like that, that is known as prozone phenomenon or zone of antibody axis. And if there are antigen axis, then it's known as zone of antigen axis. So who discovered this lattice hypothesis? It was discovered by Marek in 1934. And he only said that the maximum of antigen antibody reaction and seeing of lattice and this reaction molecules will be seen in the zone of equivalence. So what are the applications of precipitation reactions? It can be helpful in identification of bacteria and lancified grouping of detection of antibody for diagnostic purpose in VDRL, for forensic application, for testing of food adulterants, to standardize toxins and antitoxins. Now, the types of precipitation. There are 2 kinds of precipitations in 2 medias. One is in the solution and other in the gel. In solution, it is 2 kinds of reactions, ring and flocculation test. In precipitation in gel, there are 2 kinds, that is immunodiffusion and electroimmunodiffusion. So immunodiffusion, there are 5 kinds. One is Odin procedure, Ockley, Fultrop procedure, radial immunodiffusion, Ochterlony procedure, immunoelectrophoresis. These are of immunodiffusion. When we add electricity to it, then or electromagnetic force to it, then it becomes electroimmunodiffusion. That is the counter immunoelectrophoresis, rocket electrophoresis, 2-dimension electrophoresis. Now, what is a ring test? This is done in the capillary tube, and it is helpful in a grouping of Streptococcus, E. coli precipitation. So, and also in CRP. So, how we do it? We just take antigen and it is covered with the anti-sera. Or in C-reactive proteins, we are doing the slide test. This is not a actual ring test. This is a slide test. We just this is a lattice agglutination test we will be discussing later, which presently we are doing. The ring test is obsoleted now. The flocculation test can be done on slide or either in the tube. In slide, we just drop an antigen solution, add it with inactivated patient serum on the slide and mix and shake, and floccules appear. That is seen in VERL test, that is for syphilis. In tube flocculation test, Khan flocculation test is done in case of syphilis. And for standardization of toxins and toxoids in diphtheria, this test is used. And also for the incorporating toxoid incorporated in vaccines, for that standardization it's used. Now, that was in solution. Solution had two examples, that is ring test, and second was which kind of test? Second was your, one was the ring test and second was your flocculation test. And that was again of two types, slide and tube. Now precipitation in gel, immunodiffusion. It encompasses a variety of technique which is useful for analysis of antigen and antibody. An antigen reaction with a specific antibody to form an antigen-antibody complex, the composition of which depends upon the nature, concentration, and proportion of initial reactants. It occurs in semi-solid media called as gel. It is prepared by 0.2 agar or 1% agarose or polyacrylamide gel. So what is immunodiffusion? This is an encompasses variety of technology that is useful for analysis of antigen and antibody. Antigen reacts with a specific antibody and a complex is formed. The composition depends upon the nature, concentration, proportion, initial reactant. So media is used 0.2% agar or 1% agarose. What are the advantages? It is used to detect a different antigen present in the mixture, used to study the relationship of antigen. The precipitation line can be stained or preserved. Now, single diffusion in one dimension. There is a Odin method first, second is a radial immunodiffusion. We can see the Odin method. In Odin method, there is a gel, agar gel. In that, antibody is incorporated. We are adding antigen to it, and in between the antigen antibody, there is a band formation. That is a precipitant band. This is the Odin procedure. Second is the radial immune diffusion. In this, what happened is in the center there are antigen coated. We will put we will make a well in between the agar gel where we are going to insert antigen, and outer part the antibodies are there, and in between there will be a reaction and a precipitate ring is going to form, and that dimension, the diameter of the ring will be helpful in diagnosing how much concentration was the antigen. Now there is double diffusion in 2 dimension, that is also known as Auchterlonie procedure. In this, what we are going to do, that we take a gel, we make wells. In the center well, we place the antisera, and in the outer wells, we place different kind of antigens. And if the antigen antibody is going to take place, then we can understand that the antigen, the antibody inside which is known, the antigen in outside is not known. So if the reaction takes place, the arc is going to be formed like this. So we can say that this is the ideal antigen for this antibody. And if the reaction is partial, this kind of arc is going to see, and if they are unrelated, no arc, just there will be a crossing seen. So this is known as the double diffusion in 2 dimension. Now, immunoelectrophoresis. In immunoelectrophoresis, the electrophoresis and immunodiffusion techniques are combined. So what is going to happen? We take an agar plate, and there we make the wells. One is like a tunnel and one is a circular. In that circle well, we are going to place an antigen and we will pass the electrophoresis. Now this antigen, according to electricity, will differentiate and different components will separate. And when this is going to happen, then we are going to fill the stuff with the antibody and we will allow the current to pass. And after that, what's going to diffusion is going to happen, and these kind of arcs are present. So precipitant bands formed here, antibody and antigen will meet at an optimal proportion. Now, electroimmunodiffusion. What is that? Immunodiffusion can be speeded if antigen antibody are defined by the electricity. So electricity is added in that. So example of this is counter immunoelectrophoresis. In this, what is going to happen? This is that antigen antibody. We have to keep both opposite in direction, and we will pass an electric current. So after 30 minutes, there will be a precipitation in between that will form. That means that antigen antibody are homologous for each other. So that is for the detection of alpha fetoproteins. Now this one term called as rocket immunoelectrophoresis. In this procedure, we can note the concentration of antigen. So what we are going to do, according to concentration, different concentration, we are going to place this antigen in an agarose plate in the wells in different concentration, and we will allow the electricity to pass and the electric field will pass, and according to the concentration, this kind of cones are formed, and that are known as rockets. Like rockets, they are getting elevated. The maximum, if there is more of antigen, the graph is more. So this kind of thing happens. So we all are doing this on agar with the incorporated antibody, and we have created wells in it. We have put the antigen in this well. According to the concentration, the graph is going to get up and down. It's not a graph, actually the lines are going to come like that. Now what is Lorentz two-dimension electrophoresis? What happened in this? We are taking the antigen, we are passing the current, that antigen splits in first stage. Then again the current is for the reactions takes place, and there are graph like arcs are formed according to the concentration. So this was all about the precipitation reaction. Now coming to the agglutination reactions. In that there was a soluble antigen was to be needed. In this a particular particulated antigen is needed. So we can go back to the definition. So here a soluble antigen that reacts with the specific antibody. Here a particulate antigen reacts with the antibody. Various definitions remains the same. Optimal pH, temperature, electrolyte, they all produce clumps. In that precipitate was there. And in this clumps are seen. So agglutination is more sensitive than the precipitation reaction for detection of antibodies. And in precipitation, more of immunoglobulin IgG as hemoglobin G is involved. There are strong elevation of that, and in agglutination, mostly involved immunoglobulin is IgM. So agglutination, how it takes place, you can see in this slide, the antigen antibody are getting a lattice formation. They are combining. The reaction is taking place. You can see the clumps are formed here, and in this there are no clumps. And antigen antibody are not homologous, so this is a negative reaction. This is a positive reaction, and clumping is a positive reaction, and no clumping is a negative reaction. Now, what are the different kind of agglutination test? Slide test, tube, antiglobulin test, passive agglutination, heterophile agglutination. So what is passive agglutination test is heme agglutination, lattice agglutination, and co-agglutination. So what is slide agglutination? We take a suspension of bacteria or cell on a slide and we add anti-sera. Directly we are taking the bacteria and we are saying anti-sera. If the antigen antibody are homologous, there will be a clumping in 1 minute. That means it's positive. This is used for grouping of and typing of bacteria. Like it is also used for identification like Salmonella, Shigella, Vibrio. We are using this in lab, sometimes for the Vibrio also. It is also used in ABO blood grouping. So what is the slide agglutination? We studied that antigen antibody gets reacted. We do it on the slide. And it's a simple and rapid test. It just need less than 1 drop of anti-sera. So now this is a slide Vidal test. We can see TH and in BH, AB. In this slide, we can see the TH and the BH. They are positive. There you can see the clumping has been there. So what are the disadvantage of it? It's rapid, that is the advantage. Disadvantage is it shows false positive reaction because we don't dilute the sera. That is why. And it also, there is auto agglutination we see. So the tests are not so definable. We are using it in the labs, but then too we say to correlate clinically, and the confirmatory is only by the tube method. So coming to the tube method, it is used to demonstrate and quantify agglutinin. Principle is that a fixed volume of antigen suspension is added in equal volume with different dilution of patient sera in a tube. So we dilute the sera in this in different test tubes. We take a sera and dilute by the saline, and whenever we observe in the maximum diluted sera, we add antigen and observe the reaction in the maximum diluted, in the highest dilution. When we see the reaction from our eyes, visible reaction, that will be the titer. That is the patient's titer. So with that titer, we define it is positive or negative. And that titer depends on various things. One is endemicity of the area. So we can see this in this patient, we can see the visible titer till 1/160. We have diluted this till 1:160 times. So the titer becomes 160. Okay, so this is the titer. Now, what are the uses? It's used in Vidal test. It is also used for the Brucella test. But again, the disadvantage ozone can be seen, but it can be overcome by using the highest dilution. If there are blocking antibodies, then it is very difficult to get this test also done. Now, for the Coombs test and neutrophil agglutination test and your passive agglutination test, and this thing, I'm going to take the second class for that. Till now, if you have any difficulty, then you can just WhatsApp me. And now let's continue our lecture. I'm sharing my screen again. Now we have learned about the what are antigen antibody reaction, then what is precipitation reaction, and about the types of different types of precipitation reaction. And we also learned about what is the agglutination test definition and slide and the tube agglutination. The another variety of agglutination test is the antiglobulin, that is the Coombs test. Sometimes in our body, there are some incomplete antibodies formed. That mostly happens when there is RH incompatibility. You must have heard this term RH incompatibility in physiology. in erythroblastosis fetalis and all. So in that condition, the antibody which are formed are anti-RH antibodies that are incomplete. Either we have to mix them with erythrocyte or some other particles. We have to coat them with erythrocytes or some other particles. And if we treat them with Coombs reagent or antiglobulin um, or Coombs serum or cells, then they agglutinate. Otherwise, they are also known as blocking antibody. So that block we have to remove by adding some Coombs agent or antiglobulin serum or the things like that. So when the sera containing incomplete anti-RH antibodies are mixed with the corresponding RH positive erythrocyte, the incomplete antibody globulin coats the erythrocyte, but no agglutination occurs. Why? Because they're incomplete. So we have to coat such coated erythrocytes are treated with antiglobulin or Coombs serum, the cells, so they can agglutinate. So what are the types of these? There are two types. There is a direct and the indirect Coombs. So uses are to detect the anti-RH antibody and for demonstration of any incomplete antibody in brucellosis. This phenomenon also occur in brucellosis. So what is a direct Coombs test? What happens is that in direct Coombs test, patient is already sensitized. The erythrocyte of the patient is already sensitized with the incomplete antibodies. This is taking in the inside the body. So if we take sample of a baby who is already present with an RH incompetent mother, so in that case, the RBC will be sensitized with the incomplete antibody. And if we add the anti-human immunoglobulin Coombs reagent to it, there will be agglutination. So it's a direct thing. So already the erythrocyte is sensitized in this case. If the erythrocyte is not sensitized, in that case, that is happening like person is RH negative and husband is RH positive. So prenatal testing, we want to detect that is there any sensitized or this kind of RBCs present. So what we do is we take the RBCs which are of RH positive person and add the patient sample. The sensitization takes place of the RBC. And now that sensitized, which we have done at vitro, we will add anti-human immunoglobulin to it, and then it equilibrates. So direct and indirect Coombs test is nothing different, just indirect, the RBC is already sensitized with antibody. In indirect, we have to do that. So that's the difference. Now coming to heterophile agglutination test. What is heterophile agglutination test? Sometimes what happen is, like in some bacteria like protease and rickettsia, both are bacteria, they have same antigens. So they mimic same antigens. So if somebody has rickettsia infection, what we do is we take the serum of that person and take a drop and just add protease antigens like OX19, OX2, OXK, depending upon the strain and infection. We add that and agglutination takes place because they both are heterophile to each other. Protease and rickettsia are of same kind. They are mimicking same antigenic structures. So we can come to know the diagnosis of that rickettsial infection by agglutination occurring. Because the patient of rickettsial infection will develop antibody that will agglutinate with the antigen which we are using from the protease. Because of the same mimicry antigenicity, they will agglutinate because of the antibody. Okay. So the examples are Paul Bunel test. In that sheep erythrocyte are agglutinated by the seed of infectious mononucleosis. The erythrocyte mimic the antigen of the EBV virus. So antibodies of a person with infection of infectious mononucleosis, they will agglutinate with the sheep erythrocyte. Again, this example is for the Streptococcus MG agglutination test that is done for the atypical pneumonia. Now, what is heme agglutination? This is a specific heme agglutination is a specific agglutination which involves the RBCs. This is seen in for the blood grouping. So I don't need to explain you more than that because you have practically done this in physiology. So I am skipping this away. I'm coming directly to passive agglutination test. This is a precipitation reaction that can converted in agglutination test by attaching a soluble antigen to a carrier particle. So we can also convert precipitation to agglutination. Now, because agglutination are more sensitive, so this is better. So what are the carrier particles that we can convert? That is a latex particle. And you should know what about the lattice particle. They are spherical particle 0.8 to 1 micrometer. So these are very micro in this. And in exams, in your Viva voice, you could ask all that what are lattice particle. Then RBCs formalized tan treated with tannic acid. RBC you can take of sheep, that bentonite like particles. All three are carrier particles. So in exams, you could be asked what are carrier particles. So what are the properties? They should be antigenically inert. They should be colored for the better visualization. Particles should be stable. It should be possible to coat particles with different kind of antigen. Types. One is passive lattice agglutination test that is used for detection of ASO, RF, and THBS, and other is passive heme agglutination test. That in that RBC sensitized with antigen are used to detect antibodies. So heme agglutination example best is Treponema pallidum hemagglutination test for syphilis, serological diagnosis of extraintestinal amoebiasis, strep in test. So these are some tests you should remember. So what is lattice agglutination? What we are saying that RBC is coated with the antibody. The lattice particle or RBC we take as a carrier and we coat it with the antibody. And after that we add the antigen and there is agglutination formation. So this is the ASO. This is positive. How it is shown? This is positive. This is negative. Now, what is reverse passive agglutination test? In this, the antibody is coated. In that, antigen is coated. In this, antibody is coated, and this is used for antigen detection. So, in this, again, antibody are coated with the carrier particle, and types are reversed passive agglutination test. Uses are for HBsAg detection, CSF, capsular antigen detection of bacteria, and then bacterial toxin detection of diphtheria, TSST, detection of hormone, HCG, detection in pregnancy, detection of enzyme. And now the co-agglutination test is very important and always asked in exams, especially when they are discussing Staphylococcus aureus. So we have some one of the strain of Staphylococcus aureus is COAN1 strain, and that contains protein which binds with the FC portion of the antibody. I think you have already learned what is antigen antibody. You have already been taught. So no need to go in further. So the one is the FC, the stem part, and the other part, the arm part is fab portion. So this protein goes and binds with the FC portion. And such Staph aureus label specific antibodies used for detection of the sample. So that protein goes and binds with Fc, the Fab portion is empty. So many of the antigen can go and bind and creates an agglutination. This is for the detection of antigen in blood, urine, CSF, for Neisseria, gonorrhea, Streptococcus pyogenes, Haemophilus influenza. So what's happening? See, we can see here. Staphylococcus aureus has protein A in the string, and we add an antibody. Then this antibody Fc portion, the stem portion, gets bind, and we add the antigen, and there is particle agglutination. This is what is happening. Now, last but not the least, agglutination inhibition test. It is a modification of agglutination reaction. In certain viruses, agglutination of RBC of particular species taking place, like influenza, all the orthomyxovirus, rabies, and rubella. So for the diagnosis, we use these things and identification of virus. What's happening is RBC is taken, we put the antibodies from the serum of antivirus, viral antibodies, and then also we put the viral. What will happen? There was no agglutination being done because the virus neutralizes and heme agglutination is inhibited. Okay, these virus they won't heme agglutinate, as they will bind, the antibody will bind to the virus. So this is the heme agglutination inhibition test. So thank you, and in the second class I will discuss the rest of the topics, that is ELISA, immunoassays, and fluorescence assays, and all the complement fixation test and other tests. That is very, very important. So if you have any doubts, you can share with me on my WhatsApp number. Thank you.